Hi, I'm Sam Cassatt, and I want to tell you about a new company called Layer. But first, I want to tell you about why we built this thing. Layer is kind of a funny name, right? There's Layer and Eigenlayer, like layer, whatever. But we're kind of a new kind of layer. There's really nothing like us that exists. It's a new on-chain primitive and off-chain primitive as well. But first, I want to talk about sort of why that is. Hybridizing on and off-chain compute for true decentralization is sort of the why. When we first started thinking about the internet, even the Web1 pioneers, when they thought about it, one of them, this guy John Gilmore, was quoted as saying, "The internet interprets censorship as damage and routes around it." We kind of lost that vision. They weren't really ready for state-level actors trying to tell them what to stop and what traffic to redirect. And Web3 sort of had that vision that let's correct that. Let's make a truly decentralized system. But thus far, we haven't really done that. But I think it's finally time. It's finally a place in time where we're capable of doing that, and Layer allows you to do that. So around 2015, I was around for the beginning of Ethereum. I helped create a company called Consensus. We funded basically all the Ethereum ecosystem for the first few years. And basically, we just kind of had this hand-wavy, let's just decentralize everything. Let's just, let's make a DAO that's run by AI. We don't really know how we're going to do that, but we thought we could do it. But there wasn't really a treatment of how we would realize this vision. So that was around 2015. This is an example of what we thought it was going to look like. This is the Mist browser. So in the very early days of Ethereum, this was the stack. This is what we thought was going to happen, that there would be specialized front ends that weren't integrated into your browsers. MetaMask wasn't a thing yet. We would have like Swarm, Whisper, EVM all alongside each other, and that would be how we would achieve this decentralization. But obviously, that's not what happened. We ended up with a bunch of centralized interfaces. We ended up with kind of decentralization theater, where really you're running something on the side that's not decentralized. Your front end is not decentralized, especially. But as we move forward, we've sort of pushed that boundary a little bit, but I think we're finally getting to a place where we can. This is kind of a rough history of my standout moments of where we thought about decentralization. CryptoKitties, I don't know if anyone recognizes this. This is the first time that we actually clogged the Ethereum network. And that's great if NFTs are cool, but where are these things stored, right? They're actually mostly stored on this thing called Pinata, which is a centralized, actually now they have some decentralized parts. But underneath, when that company goes out of business or something happens, the image can actually go away, right? That's not very decentralized. 2019, this is when OP's first testnet went live. This is the sequencer diagram of OP, right? So even though it's great that we can have scaling, we have L2s that have higher transactions per second, they have higher throughput, it's much cheaper. Those things are amazing, and I'm glad that our industry has progressed in that direction such that we can move forward. But at the same time, there's a centralized server sitting somewhere that's actually sequencing all the transactions at the centralized point of failure. And we haven't actually stayed true to this, and we just haven't achieved it, right? It's still at the periphery, it's still at the edges. So around 2020, you could argue exactly when, but this is when ZK first started becoming a thing. So this is a diagram of the part of the system of Starknet, actually, and you have the mempool, you have sequencers, whatever. But this thing on the right, the prover, this is actually just an AWS node, or maybe they're using Google Cloud, I don't know. But this is a centralized part of the system. And when we look at how to do that, some people have tried to do it. Aleo has tried to build a big incentivized decentralization engine for ZK. Mina did it as well. But at the end of the day, right, there's still parts of this machine that are not on chain. They're not verifiable on chain. They have no crypto economic security about them. It literally is just a trust relationship. Trust in the bad way, not in trust in the good way. So, what can we do about this? Now we're sitting here, it's 2024. We still have our front ends centralized, right? This is an article about Uniswap having some trouble about their front end. They had to go and censor a bunch of types of assets on there. This is from 2022. They had problems as well. But the goal not just being making uncensorable things, the goal being things that are truly resilient, truly in the design philosophy of how we thought the internet would work. Things that are self-sustaining, things that don't require any centralized party to give them permission to exist, and maybe things that can exist in a way that pushes the boundaries of what almost like a life form might be. Something that's self-sustained, something that doesn't require the centralized control that our society, I think, has suffered from and that we're all playing with in this industry. That's sort of the why of this industry. But, so what does this look like in the next wave, right? Obviously, there have been a bunch of different attempts, not only to achieve decentralization, but to achieve scaling, to achieve different kinds of architectures. And I think like Sriram, who's the founder of Eigenlayer, put it really well. There are kind of three, choose your own adventure paths. That you can do ZK, and you have to pay for these prover costs, and they're all centralized, or mostly centralized at the moment. You can do optimistic rollups, and you have to wait for settlement lag. A lot of people are building in that direction, which is great. And I think it's done great things for our industry, and not to knock it. But there's a third path, and this is sort of what Eigenlayer enables, is this crypto economic path, right? Where you are paying capital cost, but at the same time, it's instant. But what it allows you to do is put something at stake, put your Ether at stake in their case, but put something at stake to guarantee the results of some transaction or some behavior of some system. And that's another way to scale. It's another way to achieve different types of primitives in Web3 architecture. And so we've chosen to go down that route. And we're building on top of Eigenlayer. Specifically, we're building on top of the thing that has the most economic security other than Bitcoin, but the most thing that is, the most that's programmable economic security. Eigenlayer kind of lets you do that, but there's this huge market gap between the services and the things that might be built on top of Eigenlayer. So Eigenlayer basically is able to coordinate and provide an economic incentive for all the validators of Ethereum, or most of the validators of Ethereum, to run something else, right? The core insight is something else can run on the same computers, and you end up with a sort of decentralized AWS, right? That's their vision. But what you get when you try to build something on Eigenlayer or any of the other restaking systems is you basically get an empty computer, right? And then what do you do with that empty computer? You don't have a chain. You don't have anything that you can really, you don't have a way to take payments. You don't have a way to orchestrate the type of code that runs on those systems. Right now, basically what you get is a Docker container. So a Docker container is a virtualized Linux system, right? But it contains an entire Linux distribution in it. And then you're on your own. Okay, now you have a computer, and that computer has slashing conditions. Then what, right? How do I take payments? How do I, if I want to make a derivative, or I want to set rules about how this thing behaves, if I want to, compute ZK and then send it somewhere, how do I do that? If I want to compute something on AI, and I might need 3 of 5 consensus on the results to make sure the AI is doing the right thing, how do I do that? I don't know. So a lot of people have tried to solve these problems, but there's something missing here, right? There's something that we don't know how it's going to work. I think it starts to look a little bit like this. I don't know if anyone's seen this video, but I find it very hilarious. This is someone trying to turn on a van, but the solutions look a little bit like this to me. So some people say, okay, well, we need something that looks like a stack. You can't really use a P stack. That doesn't really make sense. Maybe we could use some other, Polygon has some stuff that maybe you could put in there, but no one's really successfully done that thus far that I know of. But you need something in there, right? Maybe, but a lot of people want to build a chain. They want all the benefits of a chain, but building a chain is hard, right? So one of the ways you can do that, this is the Cosmos logo for people who don't know. Cosmos is basically the only game in town for how you can build a whole blockchain with a pre-existing stack, a pre-existing framework. There are a number of companies doing this, like Aligned Layer, for instance, is using this for their ZK prover network. It allows you to build a chain, but it has a lot of problems. It's hard to upgrade. The modulars aren't actually modular. It has a lot of issues, and so a lot of people find a lot of difficulty with this. And it's not fundamentally built for Eigenlayer. It's not built for restaking. But what do we put here? Layer is what we put here. So layer's a novel stack. You could build an L1 with it. We decided to build it from the ground up so that we could have this reusable modular stack that benefits from the last 10 years of building blockchain stacks. Some of my co-founders are amazing people that have built things before. One of them, Ethan, built a lot of the core technologies of Cosmos, like IBC, Tendermint, CosmWasm, which is the virtual machine that's very ubiquitous in that domain. So Layer is a full stack, but what it also is a chain. It's a chain that sits on top of Eigenlayer, so it's running on all the Eigenlayer validators. And it has normal smart contracts, everything you think about with a chain, but it also has something else, this actively validated layer architecture. And what that really is it allows containerized AVSs. So instead of just this empty computer that you get with slashing, instead you get a chain that's already running. It's already recruited all of the proof of all of the LRTs, all of the stake that you would need, all of the economic security that you would need. It's already recruited all the operators that you would have to go convince to run your code. But instead of doing all that, and instead of starting with an empty container and making your own chain or doing some kludgy off-chain thing, instead you just ship a compiled code bundle, or just basically a computer program, you can think of it, that's really your business, right? If you're a ZK company, if you're an AI company, you should spend all your time thinking about that. You shouldn't spend your time thinking about maintaining and upgrading a chain or doing weird things that are not really secure in order to take payments or to make derivatives or interact with DeFi, et cetera. You get all the benefits of a chain, but you can just ship your ZK code, send it to us. You can tell us, you know, I want to run it on this many machines and I want the result back. I want to orchestrate it. I want this thing to run at this time. It's all done for you. So basically, it dramatically reduces by an order of magnitude the time to market and the cost to market for anyone who's trying to build in this restaked security model. To tie it back, though, what this really does is it lets us achieve that Web3 vision, because now you don't have to touch any Web2 service at all to deploy a fully functional application. You can deploy front ends to this if you wanted to. It's a fully on-chain, fully crypto-economically secure system that lets you build whatever you want in a way that was sort of in that original vision. And I don't think that's ever really been the case before. So containerized AVSs are kind of one of the central core insights of this technology. So slashing conditions, payments, et cetera, it also is a restaking protocol, because if you think about it, an AVS, something that would have been built on Eigenlayer, it needs economic security to be lent to it, to be given to it to function. So how do you get that? You get it from us. It's sort of restaked to us, and then it's restaked again, right? So there's a restaking protocol that's built inside of this as well. So containerized AVS is built on Layer, or really anything that speaks IBC protocol can restake to each other, restake to us, or restake to other chains theoretically. So it's also its own restaking protocol as well. Obviously, it's running on the Eigenlayer validators, and then underneath Ethereum as the settlement layer. We actually have some really special sauce as to how we're able to read and write Ethereum as well. So you can directly access the Ethereum chain from anything that's running on Layer. So I think this is like something completely novel. It maintains sovereignty. It allows you to build with the entire stack if you want. If you want to make your own chain, if you want to make your own layer, or your own actively validated layer, you can. It dramatically simplifies development, as I was saying. People that go to do this, go to build an AVS, basically the simplest example that they have is it just squares two numbers, and it's 20,000 lines of code, and it's roughly 100 files, and it has no chain, no connection into the Web3, other things, and then you're kind of on your own. And what it also does is it allows a completely new type of system to be built. So if you think about this, there are things that we haven't even anticipated that I'm sure people will build with this. When you can make a fully on-chain system and you have persistent things like AI agents that can be running on this system, and those things are composable with each other, and they can call other ones. So for instance, say there's an AI system that's reading financial data and it's reading sentiment analysis, and it's maybe triggering a trade in a DeFi platform. And then that trade that triggers something in a DeFi platform updates a bunch of oracles. And those oracles then, maybe underneath are using some kind of other kind of analysis as well, some kind of AI analysis. And it's all proven by ZK without ever touching any centralized system. That's now possible. And as those things compose, it creates a new architecture for all of Web3. And I hope people build on it. I hope they use it. We just came out of stealth today. So today is the first time anyone's ever heard of this company in public. Layer on ETH is our Twitter handle. Layer.xyz is our website. Please check it out. Follow me on Twitter. Thank you very much.